All right, y'all. Excuse me. Let's see who in the building. Give y'all a little time to get in here. But in the meantime, I'll just go ahead and start talking about this press conference. So today, we got the pressers for Errol Spence Jr. versus your Dennis Ugas, the Canelo Bivol presser, and the Pedraza Ramirez. All of those fights had something in the build-up broadcasted today online. So for me, I was most excited about the Errol Spence Jr., your Dennis Ugas situation. The presser surrounding that fight. That was the one that had my attention. I didn't even watch maybe like 2 or 3 minutes of the Canelo Bivol presser, but the Spence Ugas presser had my attention. I was all ears, all eyes locked in on it. Didn't really care about what was going on with the other stuff. I must say that I am excited about the fight. I was excited when it got announced initially, but I'm even getting even more excited now that we're getting closer to the fight. It's one thing to have a fight rumored. It's another thing to have a fight announced. But as you start to have the pressers and the weigh-ins and all of that stuff like that, man, it starts to become real. And to me, this is a big fight, so I'm definitely looking forward to the fight. I think, and I said this in my video earlier, I think both guys are truly locked in, and both guys truly believe that they can win the fight. They expect to win the fight. I don't see either guy being, the moment definitely isn't too big for Errol Spence Jr., but I don't see either guy being, intimidated by the moment or by the other guy whatsoever. For me, I feel like it's I feel like it's the right fight at the right time. I have no qualms about this fight being held right now. I've been excited about it, like I said, since it first started being kicked around, and I'm in hopes that this is gonna be the precursor to the big one. Regardless of how it plays out. I saw Errol Spence Jr. come out there looking like he's fit. He looks healthy. He looks happy. It looks like his mind. Of course you can't see it, but by the looks of it, he seems that he's focused and honed in on his boxing career and on the task at hand. Your Dennis Ugas, I feel the same thing. I got the same vibe off of him that he's there for it. You know what I'm saying? That his mind is on Errol Spence Jr. and the task at hand, and he's there to take care of business. So when I'm hearing and seeing the things that I saw in that presser, those are the things that make me feel good about fights that are upcoming. You don't have a guy coming in, complaining about this, that, and the other. You don't have a guy coming in with a bunch of unnecessary, a whole bunch of unnecessary stuff surrounding him that doesn't lend itself to supporting the fight or building up the fight in a positive way. So to me, these guys, Spence and Ugas, they're ready. I usually use the term war ready, but I don't really want to say that at a time of war going on in the world. But these guys are ready, and I think they're only gonna get more and more, in fight shape between now and then. And I think on fight night, you know what I'm saying, we're gonna get the very best that each guy has to offer, and that's what I look forward to. And I'll come back to them. When it comes to the Canelo fight, Bivol been a champion for a while up there at 175. Hasn't had a unification bout with any of the other guys. There was Pedraza, and there was Vosic, however you say it, and Kovalev. He wasn't able to get a unification bout with any of them, whether that was his doing or their doing. It just didn't happen for him. So, be that as it may, he has beaten the current WBO champion Joe Smith Jr. in a bout. So there's that. you know, if you look at the current champions, I mean, you can, you know, if he was going to fight Joe Smith Jr., I would still feel like Bivol wins the fight just off of how I saw the first fight unfold. You know, it's Canelo taking the, you know, the route that he's choosing to take. He's gonna fight Bivol and then Triple G. You know, it's already that fight pretty much already on the schedule. Triple G got to get past Murata. Canelo got to get past Bivol. I don't see there being any reason to get excited and think that either guy is not going to win their fight unless they get knocked out. I mean, that's just the way it is. You know, so you know, I'm not here to crap all over the fight or anything like that. Just, you know, eager to see it play out. You know, I've been live for a minute. I don't see anybody in the chat. You know, nothing nobody dropping any content. So I mean, nobody dropping any comments. So I'm just gonna keep on talking about what I'm talking about, and it just turn into a short video if y'all don't come on in here. So the Ramirez Pedraza fight, I'm also excited about. I think that's a you know, could be a can't miss action fight. Puerto Rico versus Mexico. You know, two skilled guys that know how to brawl, but they're also technicians to an extent. And you know, we'll get to see how those guys match up with one another. You know, to me, I feel like on one hand, Pedraza, you know, should be, you know, he's the hotter fighter at the moment. You know, not coming off of a loss, looked good. You know, his last outing. And then I look at Ramirez coming off of a loss and a layoff and struggled to make weight, you know, seemingly struggled to make weight last time out when he lost to Josh Taylor. But even with those factors, you can't just write Ramirez off, because Ramirez is a guy who, you know, he's a guy who knows how to take care of business in the big fights. You know, he's been in a few fights that weren't just, you know, foregone conclusions when he showed up. He had to go in there and take care of business. He's been in fights where he had some adversity and overcome the adversity to win the fights. You know, as for a fight with him and Pedraza, who knows how that fight will play out. You know, for me, I'm just glad that they're getting it on. You know, and that's the truth about it. You know, I'm just glad they're getting it on. I hope that it's an exciting fight. I almost feel like this fight has stoppage on it, one way or the other. You know, it's almost, if there was such thing as a fight that's an assured KO, I feel like this fight might be an assured KO. You know, and that's just how I feel about it. But you know, there's a lot going on in boxing. You know, there's a lot going on in boxing right now. You know, there's a lot of stuff starting to pick. You know, boxing starting to pick up. A lot of places have started to open up. A lot of the restrictions from the pandemic have been relaxed in a lot of states, a lot of cities around the country, different places around the world. You know, Triple G Murata fight was put on the back burner because of the restrictions over there in Japan, and they finally gotten that fight on the schedule. So you know, who knows what's going to come, you know, as things continue to evolve and progress as we move forward into 2022. You know what I'm saying? We may find ourselves in a situation where, you know, we're getting a lot of fights with a lot of frequency. Hey, salute to you. I just saw somebody drop up in here. Darren Young. Salute, Hyphy. Salute. Yeah, hey y'all, I'm just like I said, I was just recapping over, you know, some things that unfolded today with these different press conferences and these fights. You know, if y'all got anything y'all want to add to the conversation, you know, feel free to do so. You know what I'm saying? I know if anything else y'all want to talk about unrelated or whatever, just let me know. We'll get into it. But like I said, you know, a lot of these venues are starting to open up. You know, it's starting to kind of look like it did prior to the pandemic in terms of the boxing schedule. You know, the schedule seems like it's going to be is going to be loaded, for 2022. And maybe we'll have a whole year where we got fight card after fight card after fight card after fight card, and not a whole bunch of lulls in the fights. So Darren, there, hey, salute Gil Cole. So Darren Young said, what you thought about the Spence? What you thought about the? Yeah, I don't know if y'all can see these comments as well, but I'm on my phone, man. My laptop's tripping; it won't stay connected to the Wi-Fi for some reason. Um, Darren Young said, "What you thought about the Spence presser?" Yeah, Darren. Like I was saying earlier, I think both guys are ready, man. I like the focus that they seem to have. I know they seem very friendly right now, and sometimes that doesn't make people get a lot of excitement built up for an event. But I feel like what I'm saying, there's a mutual respect there. But one of the things that stood out to me when Errol Spence Jr. talked about, basically he talked about the Pacquiao situation and how that was his opportunity for a passing of the torch type moment that escaped him because of his injury. And then he talked about, how Ugas, he basically also reiterated that, he feels like he's going to be the best fighter that Ugas ever fought, because he said, Pacquiao at that time wasn't the Pacquiao that, he wasn't the best Pacquiao. He was over the hill, whatever. And, he basically, said that, he feels like, it's going to be, how did he phrase it? Basically, to kind of paraphrase it, he basically just said that he expects to be a tough fight for against Ugas. And, Ugas basically came back and said that, he's been waiting on Errol Spence Jr. to be the best Errol Spence Jr., basically waiting on him to get himself back to where he was, because he's been wanting to fight. One of the other things that Ugas said that stuck out when asked about taking the opportunity, he said he didn't just take the opportunity, he sought out the opportunity, because, that was a fight he's been wanting for quite some time. And, I remember that. I remember Ugas being on the IBF short list of fighters, and I thought at one point he was even the mandatory back when nobody wanted to take the mandatory against Spence, and Ugas was pushing for it. But, fast forward all this time, Ugas had the Porter fight, which he came up short, but even Errol Spence Jr. said he felt like Ugas won the Porter fight. But it wasn't to be. Porter got the Spence fight. Now Ugas is getting his turn. So we'll see. But I think both guys are definitely, they definitely appear to be in good shape. They appear to be ready to go, in terms of where they are at this point in preparation. I mean, I'm not saying they should get in the ring tomorrow. All right, y'all. Let me address the chat. I'm seeing people coming here dropping comments, and I hadn't seen them. Sorry about that. So MZ, we on now. Hey, salute to you, MZ. Flawless Mentality and BE hosted by Dr. Mark. I guess I call you Dr. Mark. Hey, salute to you. MZ again, Musically Zone talks boxing. Said no need to talk crazy to each other. Right, man. I agree. At the end of the day, man, all that talk doesn't get in the ring. We can have a crazy. We done seen pressers where guys, they really go at it hard about what they're gonna do to each other, how they feel about each other, etc. But then when they get to the fight night, the fight, it fails to deliver. Anybody that's listening to this channel, listen to me talk in my videos any period of time, to hear me talk about the Canelo Triple G saga. It's one of the things I said about the first fight. I expected fireworks in that first fight. To me, just didn't deliver that, and I was disappointed. I heard Ed Hearn say today that was one of the best fights in recent memory, were the two Triple G Canelo fights, and I have to disagree. The first fight, to me, it failed to deliver. The second fight, although it was a different type fight, I still didn't get the fight that I thought I would get. And I wasn't even, and honestly, after the first fight ended in a draw, I wasn't even anticipating the rematch. I didn't even care. I was like, man, if they have a rematch, they do. If they don't, they don't. That's the fight I ever watched with two top level guys that ended in a draw, and I didn't want to see a rematch. I just didn't care. And then when they had the rematch, it was, to me, it was a better fight. But it just wasn't, you know what I'm saying? It just wasn't what I expected. And I think some of that came from anticipation, because the fight, a lot of people don't remember the fight drug out quite a while before it finally happened. So, and keeping with that vein of thought, look at Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford. Look at Pacquiao and Mayweather. When these fights drag out, man, people expect an epic showdown. And, Pacquiao and Mayweather didn't deliver. And I think that's one of the things that hurt pay-per-view in the U.S. I remember a lot of casuals who never watched boxing watched that fight, and then after the fight was over with, they were complaining and talking about they'll never buy pay-per-view again. And with Spence and Crawford, that fight having drug out as long as it has, we're hopeful that if and when we ever get the fight, that it lives up to the anticipation. All right, so go back to the chat. Joseph Brown in here somewhere. Salute Joe Brown. L Dub, salute. Bruce Gold, salute. Gil Coles again. MZ, yeah, MZ telling y'all hit the thumbs up. Hey y'all, I appreciate if y'all hit the thumbs up for me. Let me see, trying to make sure I didn't miss anybody. All right, Hyphy asked a question. Hyphy said, is Errol receiving too much credit for appearing to be serious and in good shape? Last time I checked, that was something many fighters were supposed to do. You're right about that, man. Fighters are supposed to show up in shape. I'm not saying he getting too much. I don't feel like he's getting too much credit for it. I think it's worth being noted, and quite honestly, if you want to say that the fact that people are talking about it is a dig at him, is a some kind of way a knock on him. I mean, that could be true, because sometimes you got to look at a guy's what you've seen in prior fights, and what I'm saying, in things that you kind of didn't like or didn't really approve of, and then when you see those things, taken care of, and you see those things shored up, you want to give him credit. Prime example, Tank Davis. Every time Tank was having a fight, we have to hold our breath. Is he gonna be able to get on the scale and make weight? So. Because, a lot of times you see these guys outside in between fights, they don't look like fighters. I mean, I don't mean to say it that way, but they don't look like themselves in terms of how they keeping themselves in shape to, not have to cut a ton of weight. And Errol alluded at that himself, talking about, being up around 190 or something. I think he was talking about after the accident, but I've heard that before too. Even before the accident, that Errol was up over 180 and stuff, and had to come down a long way in camp to make weight. So I think it's a testament of where he is right now. I think it's not really necessarily giving him a whole bunch of credit and that he may or may not be warranted, but I think it's something to be said of a fighter who has had some dedication issues, who gets it and puts it all together to try to get themselves in the best shape prior to having to cut that last little bit of weight to make weight on the scale. So I mean, it's all about growth and maturation, in my opinion. So I give him credit for it. You know what I'm saying? Give Ugas credit too. You know what I'm saying? Ugas is coming off the biggest win of his career, and he's not pulling an Andy Ruiz. You know what I'm saying? So I got to give Ugas his credit too, because he seems to be still focused, just as focused and just as dedicated as he was before he got that Pacquiao fight. All right, let's see who else in here. MZ said, "Well, it's just Pac had nothing for me." Yeah, I mean, and MZ. And on that issue with Pacquiao Mayweather, that was my argument with fans, with the casuals on Facebook and stuff when they were making these comments. I said, hey, Mayweather fought his fight. Pacquiao is the guy that's supposed to be an all excitement fighter. If you mad at anything, get mad at him for not being able to do what he usually does. All right, Bruce Gold shouting everybody out. L5 player. Yo, what's up, man? Salute to you. Joe Brown said it was a lot of pressures to today. Boxing about to be cracking. Yeah, and that's what I said earlier, Joe Brown. I said, we got three pressers for fights that are coming up. One, of course, one of them coming up this week. This weekend. They had some kind of pressure about that fight, and then the Canelo fight, in the fight we're talking about. So the Spence Ugas fight, and I was just saying that it looks like maybe boxing is about to get back to its pre-pandemic form, and maybe surpass what it was. It's starting. The cards are starting to heat up. You got guys booking out fights. 2 fights out, 3 fights out. And stuff like that. So who knows, man. I'm glad that when I look at the boxing schedule, it's filling out. You know what I'm saying? I don't like when I look at a schedule and there's no fight this weekend, no fight that weekend. Oh, here's a weekend that we got boxing, but every network's fighting on the same weekend, so you got to pick which one you're gonna watch. So I like that. We got some fights coming down the pipe. MZ saying facts. Bruce Goes saying 100. I mean Gil Cole. Sorry about that, Gil Cole. He was talking to Bruce Goes. So like I said, man, I'm excited about even the fights that have been announced thus far. I'm excited about it. I'm excited that Spence and Ugas have gotten this far. You know what I'm saying? And I say that because, like I always say in boxing, a fight isn't official to the ref. You know what I'm saying? To the ref tells the guys to touch gloves. You know what I'm saying? It's just so many things that can derail fights. But I every step of the way as we progress and get closer, I think it's worth celebrating a little bit because this is what I've been wanting to see. This is what I've been wanting to see for a while, and I'm not one of those people that's hung up all over the fact that the Crawford Spence fight hadn't happened yet. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna let that damper my excitement about Spence versus Ugas because this is a fight that I wanted to see back when Spence was a young champion, had just became champion for the IBF. I wanted to see that Ugas fight because I was hearing some things about Ugas. At the time, I hadn't actually watched a single Ugas fight, but I was hearing some things about Ugas, and I was hearing that there were guys out there who didn't want to fight him and things like that. And I was like, okay, so Spence is the guy folks don't want to fight, and here's another guy that people don't want to fight that's in a position to challenge for his title. I thought that would have been interesting. So fast forward all this time, what I'm saying, we're just about there. So I'm definitely excited about it. I definitely want to, what I'm saying, I wish the fight was this weekend. Um, but I'll patiently wait and talk about it in the interim, and support the sport of boxing while we wait on this fight to happen. So with all of that being said about the Spence Ugas fight, I do want to talk about a couple of the things that Spence said and fielding questions from the reporters and things like that. He was asked about what his plans are. Basically if he wins the fight, does he plan to push for undisputed or whatever, and he let it be known that nothing's changed. That's still what he wants to do. He was asked, inside when they were doing the press, and then there was him asked off camera, well not off camera, but off of the presser. Somebody else asked him, what I'm saying, and he reiterated, is what he's trying to do. I don't know that I heard him call Crawford's name per se, but I mean I don't feel like he had to. I mean reporters, I know one of the reporters specifically asked him about Crawford, I've also seen people ain't much to do about nothing because he didn't, specifically say Terrence Crawford's name. I mean, he's the man saying he wants to be undisputed. He's saying he still wants to go after that last belt. We know who has that belt right now. Could Terrence Crawford potentially not be the holder of that belt or in possession of that belt once the smoke clears? I mean, it's possible, but I don't know. I don't hear anything about, I heard that Terrence Crawford may have something coming down the pipe, but then it seems like, nothing's going on. So who knows? Maybe he's going to sit back and just wait. But, as for Spence saying what he said, to me, I feel like he said enough. You know, because I don't want any fighter who is going into a fight to be focusing on some other guy. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of who that other guy is. And I think that's what's getting a lot of these guys in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially these guys coming off layoffs. You know, you got Teofimo Lopez was getting ready to fight Cambosis. He was talking about everybody in the world except Cambosis. You got Josh Taylor getting ready to fight Catterall. He's talking about Terrence Crawford and all this other stuff, you know. And they were talking about trying to, you know, match him up with Teofimo as well. So, you know, and it goes on and on. You know, you got guys, you know, thinking about a fight ahead instead of focusing on the fight before them. You know, even when you look at a kid like, you know, Lil B Hop, well, now Chris Colbert, he goes by prime time now. You know, even him, he went out there and got dusted up pretty bad in his fight last weekend. But it's hard, and I'm not making any excuses. I think he just, you know, the other guy was just a better fighter. Garcia was just a better fighter on fight night. And maybe those guys fight 10 times and Garcia beats them 9 out of 10 times, maybe 10 out of 10 times. But the one thing that I will say that I have to, you know, give a little credence to is that he was supposed to be fighting Gutierrez, and he knew that all he had to do was win this fight, and then he was gonna go right back to the Gutierrez fight. He actually talked about it in one of the pre-fight pressers. You know, he was like, "This is another fight, another payday. He's gonna get to make some money. And then after he beats this guy, he's still gonna get the Gutierrez fight and go make some more money." That's what he said. And you know, so I have to say that's looking ahead to an extent. And you know what I'm saying? And he was, you know, he got in there, he got bested. You know what I'm saying? No two ways about it. No, you can't dress it up. Can't put no cut on it. All right. Okay, man. I'm trying to, like I said, y'all, I apologize. I'm on my cell phone, so it's not you know what I'm saying, the chat's not moving. I'm actually having to touch the screen to make it show me that I got comments. So I see some comments I want to read. MZ says facts. Joe Brown said, "What do you think about Canelo saying he wants to be undisputed at 175, but he fight Triple G next?" Yeah, I actually didn't hear that, Joseph Brown, but if he said that, and I'm not, and I'm sure he did, if you mentioned it, you know that's kind of odd because the Triple G fights more than likely gonna be at 168 because Triple G's fighting at 160 against Murata. So I'm sure they're gonna fight at 168, which I will give Canelo credit. You know, Canelo goes up to 75 and fights Bivol, then has to come back down, cut the 7 pounds to come back down to 68. That kind of puts Triple G at an advantage, being the guy that's coming up in weight rather than the guy coming down. I do understand that Canelo is not a 175 pounder. We don't know exactly how much weight he's gonna put on for the fight. He may not put on the full 175 because Bivol isn't the biggest, you know, light heavyweight himself. And then I know one time they were talking about catch weights and all that. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. I haven't heard catch weight this time around, but a while back when they were talking about making this fight, they were talking about catch weights. But, you know, as for him saying he wants to become undisputed at 175, hey, if he does that, man, I can't complain about that. I mean, maybe the Triple G fights a one off to pay the zone, you know, help the zone out since they gave Triple G all this money, and then maybe his plan is to go back up and, you know, fight, you know, the other champions at 175, you know, and right now that's Beterbiev, you know, who holds the WBC and the IBF belt. And then, of course, Joe Smith Jr. has the WBO belt. And if Canelo is going to, you know, choose to go that route, that maybe that third fight that he has playing with the zone is going to be up at 175 against one of those other champions. I'd have to say I highly doubt it would be Beterbiev, or it could be a fight against he could be, you know, planning to defend his 175 title that he plans to win off Bivol, you know, defending the WBA. I don't know, you know, but I'll say that if he really is gonna go for undisputed at 175, I can't complain about that. I give him credit, you know. I say it about everybody else. I want guys to try to clear out a division. So if he's gonna take that route and try it, I give him credit for it. You know, I think that's admirable. Salute, Martin Nash. Elder talking to Bruce Gold. Joseph Brown said, "You got fans that need him to say it all the time when he already said it." Yeah, yeah. You talking about what I said about Errol fans feeling like that he has to call Terrence Crawford by name every time he's talking about it. I mean, I'm not gonna play. I'm not gonna play that game, man. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and act like I think Errol Spence Jr. is gonna go after the WBU or you know what I'm saying, the British Commonwealth belt at 147 or the IBO or something like that. I'm gonna give him, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna give him enough respect to say that when the man says he's going after that other belt, it's the other belt that we all think about. All right, so Hyphy says before Shakur fought Nagathia, however you said, he was focused on being as good as Mayweather. Haney was focused on being Gamboa and Linares better than previous opponent. That mentality is a recipe for failure. Yeah, Hyphy, I feel like a lot of these fighters put undue pressure on themselves. When I was on that live stream for the premier boxing presser for Errol Spence and Ugas, and when they went to asking Errol Spence, do he think he's gonna stop Ugas? I think Brian Custer asked him, and people in the chat were saying things, and I basically put in caps like, Errol, don't put that pressure on yourself. And I like his answer. Errol Spence Jr. basically said, he started giggling and saying, I don't think I stopped anybody in a long time. And, basically talked about just letting the fight come to him. You know what I'm saying? He talked about going out there just trying to go out there and fight his fight. I don't like when guys put pressure on themselves. And that's the same thing I said about Terrence Crawford going into the Porter fight, that I didn't like that a lot of people were, one thing that people were saying I thought was foolish. Like I heard people say things like, if Terrence Crawford, regardless of how he beats Porter, that if he don't fight the same fight that Errol Spence Jr. fought, there's no way he could outperform him or something. Like basically he had to. It wasn't good enough if he beat Porter, and no matter what the outcome was, they weren't gonna respect it unless he fought the same fight that Errol Spence Jr. fought, which I thought was asinine. But I also I didn't want Crawford putting pressure on himself, feeling like he has to go out there and stop Porter in order to, some kind of way satisfy, the fans or whatever. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day in boxing, you got to go out there and win. I mean, the results are going to be what they are, but you can't go out trying to force a KO. You can't go out trying to outperform some other guy who fought your opponent. So I agree with you, Hyphy. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially for these younger fighters, don't put that pressure on yourself worrying about trying to upstage somebody. Just go out there and fight your fight. And I like that Shakur Stevenson kind of silences, he kind of blocks out the noise and just goes out there and does his job. Yeah, L-Dub, he let y'all know Triple G versus Murata is a done deal. That April 9th. I think I mentioned that earlier. But you know what I'm saying? It makes it more. L-Dub put a stamp on it, then I feel like, hey, it's really real. Nitty G, salute, fam. Derek Bailey, salute Derek Bailey. L-Dub talking to Derek Bailey. D-Ray, salute D-Ray. Bichette versus Nagathia was announced today, March 26th in Vegas. L-Dub dropping that news on y'all. Like I said, I don't know if y'all can see. Can y'all see the chat? Derek Bailey, can y'all see the chat? Because I don't know what y'all can see. Hold on, let me grab my other device. I can look. Oh, yeah. Hey, appreciate it, man. So, yeah, but Bichette versus Nagathia, that ought to be a good fight. You know what I'm saying? I was wondering what they were gonna do with Bichette, since he wasn't able to get one of the fights that Bob Arum was acting like he wanted to put him in. I think at one point Bob Arum was talking about Shakur fighting Bichette, or either Bichette fight Lomachenko or something. It was something he was trying to do when he was going out of his way trying not to make Shakur versus Oscar Valdez. You know what I'm saying? He was talking about doing something weird with Miguel Bichette. So I think that's a good fight for him. I like that. You know, I think that's gonna be a good fan-friendly fight. Um, I reckon I'd say I expect Michelle to win the fight, but you know, I don't know. You know, I don't know. I hadn't seen Michelle since the Valdez fight, and you know what I'm saying. My last memories of him weren't good. So I'm eager to see how he looks. You know, I think Nagathia is probably the kind of opponent that I would be putting my fighter back in with if he's coming off of a stoppage loss and a little layoff. You know, that makes sense to me. So those of you in here, what do y'all think about? I know this is like last week's news, but what do y'all think about Chris Colbert? You know, what do y'all think should be the move next for him? L-Dub, you still in here? Who's a good opponent? Who's a good bounce back opponent for Christopher Colbert at 130? You know, because I've stated and I'll reiterate that I feel like he needs a confidence builder after the way the fight went last Saturday. I think he needs a confidence builder type fight. I think it needs to be someone who's a threat, but someone who stylistically will be a matchup that favors his skill set. It favors what he does well to be able to get by him. But yet he still got to go out there and execute X's and O's to get the job done. And if he doesn't go out there and fight to the best of his ability, it should be a fight that he still could lose. So, that's just my take on it. So I'm just curious, any of y'all think about, who would be a good fight for Colbert next. Hyphy said, I hope Bichelle isn't shot after the Valdez loss because his style is exactly what boxing needs. Yeah, I like watching Bichelle fight. I wanted to see Bichelle versus Gary Russell Jr. for quite a while. That fight never came to fruition. And I actually was interested in Bichelle versus Shakur. But that fight, for whatever reason, couldn't happen. And I'm talking about before he got beat by Valdez. And then, of course, I like Jamel Herring and with these guys as well. But we don't know. We have to see Jamel Herring and see how he bounces back from the loss to Shakur. But as far as Bichelle, I actually was low key hoping that Bob Arum would put Bichelle and Navarrete in together, since Navarrete was he was talking about moving Navarrete up for Valdez. When Valdez and Shakur got announced, I was kind of had my fingers crossed, hoping that they would make Bichelle versus Navarrete. All right, so L-Dub came back with an answer for me. Appreciate it, L-Dub. L-Dub said, I think Colbert should fight Claudio Marrero next. Marrero fought, my screen went out. Marrero fought on the same card and won an 8-round decision over an undefeated prospect. So he's on the same. He basically fought the same day. So he's not a guy coming off the that hadn't had a fight in a while. I didn't catch that portion of the card, and I'll be honest, I'm not familiar. I've heard the name, but I can't place who he is or anything. So I'm gonna have to do some research on him and see. But I appreciate that. I'm definitely gonna look into him and see what he's about. See what I think about how he and Colbert would match up. So you think LW, you thinking that's a winnable fight, but a respectable fight at the same time? He could fight Santa Cruz. Yeah. Okay, LW, you saw it. You were there. You saw it. Okay. Yeah, I didn't catch nothing but the I think I saw the Colbert fight and I saw the Russell fight and the Colbert fight. So I didn't know if it was on TV or not, because like I said, I got home as soon as I got home. Postall and what's the name were in the ring. You know what I'm saying? Postall and Russell. He could fight Santa Cruz. It was TV. Okay, so it's saying that's so yeah. I don't know about Leo. I don't know what weight Leo really wants to fight at. I think from what I heard, seems like he's interested in going to 26 and staying there. Of course, Gary Russell, with Gary Russell not being there, you know, right now Gary Russell's on sick and shut in list, so he don't have to worry about Gary Russell calling him out and aggravating him at 126 right now. So maybe 126 is where Leo's gonna settle. So I don't know that he would fight Colbert at 130. Eldo said Marrero fought King Tug and Kid Galahad, respectable. Okay, yeah, those are some solid guys that have shared the ring with. If you rewatch the Colbert interview where he's claiming Garcia is nobody and how he himself has so much dog in the ring, that loss hits even harder. Hey man, I watched a lot of Colbert's interviews because I've been high on him as a prospect. He was one of my. I'm not gonna say he was. I'm not gonna just throw the kid away. He's been one of my favorite prospects. Of the crop that came in around the same time, and I was hoping for him to continue his trajectory. But I was watching the presser where he was basically saying about the guy having power. I actually meant to make a video. Put a short up on it, and I never got around to it. But he was talking about this guy having power. I know the guy has 2 arms and 2 legs. That's all I know. I never watched him, but basically saying that he ain't worried about his power. Everybody said everybody has power, but they end up losing to him anyway, and this, that, and the other. He basically was, I ain't gonna say he was disrespecting the guy, but he was being dismissive of him. He was being very dismissive of Garcia. And then when you go out and watch that fight and watch it unfold the way it did, and a lot of people looking at the third, what happened the last quarter of the fight, but I honestly felt like Colbert was out of ideals by the third round. I think by the third round he kind of just started, like I'm just gonna do the same stuff and just do it a little bit harder and hope the result changes. And just kept getting out, out hustled, out punched, out worked, out everything. It just it was a bad matchup for him. Joe Brown said Colbert got Shane Song last, so he got his soul snatched. Yeah, hey, I'll tell you what, man. I I was impressed by Garcia a great deal. I think Garcia was, when Colbert would have his little moments, what I'm saying, when he would have his spots in there where he would try to kind of what I'm saying, kind of stem the tide a little bit and try to keep Garcia honest. What I'm saying, Garcia just refused to let him take the play away. Garcia just steady, methodically, just kept doing what he was doing. It was working. And he didn't, he just didn't, what I'm saying, he stayed on schedule, man. He stayed on schedule with the punches and with the game plan and everything, and just he just kept working and kept working and kept working. And eventually, what I'm saying, Colbert started making more mistakes and eventually got dropped. And what I'm saying, then it got to the point where Colbert just started trying to make it to the final bell. And that is the part that really concerns me the most, is that I can't objectively say, what I'm saying, I can't say honestly that I don't look at that as a form of quitting. In boxing, when a guy quits trying to win, what I'm saying, he quit trying to win. What I'm saying, he quit trying to win the fight, and he was just trying to, in my opinion, just trying to last. And I understand that counts for something. He didn't go out there and lay down, but in a way he did. Broner actually fought back against Maidana. Colbert didn't do that. Hey, honestly, man, the Broner versus Maidana, when it first started going downhill for Broner, it looked like Broner was gonna do what Colbert did, and then Broner fought, man. The back stretch. The back half of that Maidana fight, man, that's probably the proudest I've ever been of any performance from Adrian Broner. Because Broner was, what I'm saying, he was trying to win the fight, even though, what I'm saying, even against the odds. What I'm saying, even though he, it's like at some point he told himself, you know, I'm better than this. And he started trying to win that fight. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, granted, that kind of became, after that, it kind of became what he did in a lot of fights, not necessarily in the same situation, but he was like he would wait till the fight's just about over to start trying to fight, you know what I'm saying, against guys like Mikey and against Jesse Vargas and stuff. Like Jesse Vargas fight, he lost like the first half of the fight and won the whole second half, in my opinion. So it's kind of, when you look at stuff like that, you know what I'm saying, it's kind of you know what I'm saying, it makes it, when you see other people fight down the back stretch in a fight that they're losing, and then Colbert go out there and just basically try to run the clock out, went playing four corner offense. That was crazy. Gil Cole said, "Who is Hector Garcia going to fight next?" My hope is that he's going to fight Roger Gutierrez next. I mean, I think that's the fight that makes sense. You know, to me, I feel like that's the fight that was supposed to have been next for Colbert. And I feel like if he went out there and beat Colbert, he should take his place. You know, but in boxing sometimes it doesn't work that way. You know, like an example of that, and I know this situation is a little different because Gutierrez was actually supposed to be the original opponent. But if you look at Ugas and Pacquiao, you know, the winner ended up getting Errol Spence Jr. But then if you look at Dillian White and Povetkin, Dillian White went out there and got knocked out by Povetkin. But instead of Povetkin being able to take that position and become the mandatory, all of a sudden they pulled a rematch out of their ass. You know what I'm saying? To say they had a rematch clause and all that, which didn't make sense for the fight, for what the fight was. Another one that comes to mind that was kind of similar is man, I just went blank. Anyway, I'll just move on. So, but yeah, there are fights that happen. You know, sometimes when a guy is in position for a title shot, and then he goes out there and you know what I'm saying, he doesn't win the fight for whatever reason. You know, the other guy feel like should be the one who should be able to put themselves in that position and go ahead and move on and get that title shot. But sometimes it just does not happen that way in boxing. You know, Garcia should be next in the title fight. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Sounds like my guy with right side. I don't know what you mean by that, Martin Nash. Martin Nash says Ortiz fight McKinson 21-0 with 2 KOs. Shaking my head, yeah. Yeah, for some reason McKinson was ranked pretty high in the WBO. That's why that fight's happening. And part is happening because, you know, Ortiz got, you know, he was number one and seemingly didn't want to challenge for the title, and then he got moved down and Porter got the title shot, and then, you know, they had to line Ortiz up with something, and that was somebody high in the WBO rankings. I think if Ortiz wins that fight, he's right back in position to where he could you know, be named mandatory for the WBO. But yeah, it's odd when you look at these guys having all these fights and don't have, you know, but half, you know, 2 or 3 knockouts and stuff, because we have to know that, you know, these guys have had soft touches and they've had guys that were brought in there to make them look good and brought in there to get stopped, and a lot of times these guys aren't even getting stoppages in those situations. Mini meal, Cyclone Butts, however you say it, Box, sorry. Said next year Canelo will go to PBC and fight those guys, is what Canelo said. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good, man, but I wanna hear that when Canelo's available. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, if he's gonna fight those guys, he's had plenty of opportunities to fight them. And I don't really want to hear that he's gonna fight them when he's announcing fights with other people, because to me that's kind of like a marketing tool. Hey, I know I didn't give y'all the fights y'all want, but if y'all go ahead and support these fights, I'll fight those guys next year. I fell for that with Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather for years. Kept buying fights, thinking that at the end of the fight they were going to announce that they were fighting each other next, and it took years and years and years for it to finally happen. But hey, any of y'all new to the channel, man, if y'all haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. Hit that bell icon. I'd appreciate it. Ortiz's dad in interview says the champions aren't fighting each other and need to move up and not fight coward. And not fight. And that's coward talk. Didn't Ortiz had an opportunity? Yeah, he had an opportunity to be the WBO mandatory and passed on it. But they kind of came back and tried to act like that wasn't what happened. Like, oh well, it was a miscommunication or something. I don't know, but I felt like they didn't push for the fight because if Porter can get in there and get the fight, they could have got it. And I just think I just don't think that they think that Ortiz is ready yet for a certain level of fights, and they kind of trying to slow him down just a little bit, and I can respect that. But it's gonna come with some scrutiny. That's just how it is. You know what I mean? Because it's boxing. And I feel like they need to be talking to these sanctioning bodies and say, hey, we don't want to be ranked higher than number 5 because we're not ready for a title shot. But I will say another thing that I say all the time is that I feel like when these guys get in position for a title shot and they pass on it, like Jaime Munguia, I feel like they should be dropped in the rankings by at least 5 notches. If you're number 1 and you pass on a title shot, you should have dropped down to number 6. If you do it again, you know what I'm saying? I just feel like, and I mean, that's at least five spots. Because I feel like, you're in the way of somebody else's opportunity. And if you don't want the opportunity, you need to get out of the way. It's just a waste of time for you to sit there as a number 1 contender and pass up opportunities at a title because you're not confident enough that you can win the fight, especially when you're a former champion like Munguia. Munguia was a champion at 54 and he's passing up title shots at 160. Now Andre's moved up to 168. Munguia comes out saying he wants a title shot ASAP. So it's funny that way. Joseph Brown said Ortiz is gonna do the same thing. Same thing. Oh no. Oh, Hyphy said that to Joe Brown. Yeah, he gonna do the same thing as Munguia. That's exactly what I was just talking about. Minnie Mills said, I got a feeling lots of fights will be canceled or not happen because of all the chaos, war, inflation, and COVID. Yeah, I mean, it's possible, man. I mean, we could be getting all excited about, all these cards that have been announced and thinking that we're about to get some fights. And, the thing about it is the more of them that are made, the more likely it is that, we're going to have some cancellations. That's just kind of, rule of, the way the ball bounces in boxing anyway. A lot of times, fights just for whatever reason don't make it across the finish line. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopefully optimistic. I don't want to I don't want to be getting notifications every other day about fights getting canceled. Joseph Brown said, I'm sick of these dudes pump faking for cameras. We all witnessed why Porter got the upgrade. Yeah. It's these guys, man, they have to save face, man. They think that people don't, they act like these cameras, this stuff isn't captured on film. They'll come out and say something, and then like a couple days later, act as if they never said it, or we'll see something unfold. I mean, case in point, look at the situation now where, somebody is operating Triple G's Twitter account, going back and forth with Andre Ward, saying that Andre Ward lying about Triple G not want to fight him and all this, that, and the other, just a bunch of stuff. And I say somebody's operating just because the things that are said, it just don't seem like Triple G. And maybe he said it to an extent, and whoever's typing it up, putting cables on it. But to me, it just it seems like, if I had to guess, I'd say somebody over at the Zone. They got somebody operating Triple G's Twitter to drum up interest in his fights going forward, so that by the time he fights Canelo, his name is hot again. Many Mike said, I like your idea of dropping guys from 1 to 3 to 5 for not fighting. Yeah, I mean, man, I feel like that's something that That's all the sanctioning body should do. You know, and I feel like if a guy, and I also feel like if a guy got in a mandatory position and got dropped because he turned down a fight, I feel like the other sanctioning bodies should also not let him be ranked any higher than 5, than number 6. Because I mean, if he dropping out of one sanctioning body, refusing to fight the champion because the other champion in the other sanctioning body seems like a softer touch, I don't respect that shit either. Um, Fights are gonna happen, just might not be the ones we want to see. If Gil Coles, Many Mills said I like Jaime McGill, but he's still a work in progress. But he has improved under Eric Morales. I agree, he has improved under Morales. Um, I mean, he's a work in progress, but I mean, like I said, I mean, if you ain't ready for the title shots, man. You don't have to take the fights that put you in position to be the mandatory. You know, fight around. I mean, don't even fight those fights. Let them guys, like I look at it like this: if you're not gonna try for the title, why are you in some other guy's way? You go out there and beat him up and stop him from getting his title shot. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he would have went out there and beat the champ. You know, you just never know. But you know, it is what it is. You know, I don't make the rules. I just, I'm just an observer. Hyphy said that you all remember years ago when Rigo was the WBA and WBO champ, and he was begging to fight Quigg, his mandatory, and Frampton. Quigg and Frampton chose to fight each other instead. I absolutely remember that, man. That was very despicable. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that was shameful. And you know what I'm saying? It's hey, Rigo's career is littered with guys with is littered with coulda beens. You know, guys he coulda, woulda, shoulda got an opportunity to fight but didn't. And you know what I'm saying? And basically that's how he ended up in that situation where he had to go up, had to go up there and take the Lomachenko fight at a weight he never fought at. You know, I think 2 weights above where high as he's ever fought, and went out there and got stopped. You know, went out there and quit. But you know, even with Lomachenko, Lomachenko was down there with Rigo and wouldn't entertain fighting. You know, basically once he moved up, I fight you, but you got to come up here. Why was the zone so desperate to make the GGG Canelo fight? Is GGG cash out fight for the zone? You know, I just think that they want some of their money back. You know, that was the fight when the zone first launched. I think those were the 2 guys that they targeted, again, because they felt like Canelo and Triple G had done great numbers over there at HBO, and they wanted a piece of that. You know, and you know what? They've been talking this non pay-per-view stuff all this time, but I have to wonder if the whole time they plan on putting Triple G and Canelo on pay-per-view. You know, because and with that being the case, maybe the zone had something to do with why the fight hadn't happened yet. Because they couldn't come out and make that fight right away and put it on pay-per-view when their mantra was pay-per-view is dead. So, I have to wonder about stuff like that. Maybe I'm overthinking it. But I, for one, I don't believe the numbers that Canelo and Triple G supposedly did on HBO in either fight. And part of the reason I don't believe it is because HBO wasn't allowed to release the numbers. Those numbers came from Golden Boy. And, you know what I'm saying? And unless they released them since last time I looked, which I mean, it was years ago, but it was actually after HBO had shut down. I never could find official numbers from HBO. All I saw was as reported by Golden Boy. So, but, that being said, I don't think that fight done. I don't think that fight done the numbers they act like it did. All right, so Joseph Brown said Ortiz daddy basically said, without saying, he wants Spence and Crawford to move out of the division. Yeah, and I don't. That's crazy though, man. When you got a younger guy, the team of a younger guy basically trying to force these older guys out of their division. Won't basically saying y'all get out of the way so that we can have our time. Like really, the younger fighter is supposed to be the one at the advantage. That he should be trying to go ahead and he should be trying to get at these older guys who may have lost a step or two. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. I mean, I know I did hear that they were talking about potentially fighting Spence though as well at Cowboy Stadium. But I don't know. He that fight's not gonna happen because Errol Spence Jr. has said himself his days are numbered at 147. I don't think he fights for undisputed, then sticks around and waits on the young guys to come up. Not when he's been, talking 154 for quite a while. Minnie Mills said, "Where does Colbert go from here?" Feel sorry for him. Yeah, L Dub had said earlier that he felt like a good fight for Colbert would be guy who had fought King Tug. He had fought King Tug and Kid Galahad. This kid named Marrero. He was saying that Claudio Marrero fought on the card with Colbert, and that he would be a good opponent for Colbert to try to bounce back. Them days, what he said, Joseph Brown said, them days they was doing Rigo dirty. He would never have had to fight. He would have never had to fight Loma. Yeah, and I mean, I had no issue with Rigo fighting Loma. I just didn't like the weight. I felt like, the time for Lomachenko and Rigo to fight was when Lomachenko was down there closer to his weight. Not when he moved up to 130 or whatever the weight was. I forgot now. So, all right. So, Hyphy said Alexander was the IBF mandatory to face Klitschko. He refused to sign the contract and got dropped out of the IBF. He later won the secondary version of the WBO fake champion. Alexander. Oh, you talking about Alexander Povetkin? Is that who you talking about? I don't remember Alexander Povetkin. I don't even remember that whole saga, but I do remember him fighting Klitschko and getting dominated. If GGG loses to Murata, what happens to Canelo GGG? I don't think they're gonna. I don't think Triple G can lose to Murata unless he gets knocked out, and I don't see that happening. I mean, the fight's in Japan, but I think the zone. I don't like to talk about this stuff, but like for the most part, man, on the zone, the guys who they want to win. The guys who the zone needs to win usually wins if it goes to the cards. So the fact that the Triple G fight with Canelo is already made, I think Murata needs a knockout and Bivol needs a knockout to have a chance at winning. I don't think they can. We just saw what happened with Josh Taylor and Catterall. So, and I know that wasn't. That there's not another fight pending on the horizon that somebody's waiting on. But I think that all of that plays into it. So I just can't see a situation where these guys, go out there and fight a close fight and lose a decision when they got a fight already pretty much signed and sealed, ready to be delivered. But y'all, I didn't plan on being on no more than an hour. I appreciate y'all who came through. See a lot of people that dropped off anyway. But I appreciate y'all, man, and I got to figure out what's going on with my Wi-Fi connection on my laptop. For some reason, every time, I go on it won't consistently stay on there. And I didn't want to come on and do a live and then keep having connection issues. So I just jumped on with my phone. But I don't really like this because I have a hard time seeing the chat because it times out. If I don't touch the screen, the chat goes away. But hey, I appreciate y'all coming through. Like I said, anybody who had subbed to the channel, I'd appreciate it if you consider subscribing. Come back and mess with me. There's a lot of videos on the channel. Feel free, to look at the videos that I've dropped, over the last, however, go back however far back you want to watch. Just check out some of the content and see if it's a channel you want to continue to support. But that's all I got on it, man. I appreciate y'all coming through. I'll catch y'all on next one. Y'all be safe out there. Peace.